Hakkiyoi listeners, let's learn sumo. I'm Clayton and welcome to another bite-sized episode where we learn about sumo. If you want to ask a question or leave a comment, go to the Let's Learn Sumo pages on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook and I'll try and get back to you. Sumo wrestling. It's a very male-dominated sport. In Japan, women aren't even allowed to enter the dohyo ring. Remember, before the tournament starts, there are ceremonies by Shinto priests to bless the ring and make it sacred ground. There's been a few scandals over the years, including where a woman protester tried to enter the ring a few years ago. She was quickly removed from the stadium. Also, at an exhibition match in Kyoto in 2018, a referee shooed women from the dohyo when they went to offer assistance to a politician who'd collapsed in the ring while making a speech. Later on, the Japan Sumo Association head apologised, saying it was inappropriate to remove the women when the man was in need of assistance, and he greatly appreciated their efforts to assist. But it was a bit of an uproar at the time over the footage, and some say it's pretty emblematic of the poor gender equality in Japan on all issues such as health, education, economy, and even politics. For example, there is a law, even recently challenged, that upholds that a woman must take her husband's surname on marriage. One might even say that the conservatism stretches to all parts of their society, and there's pretty much little want from both sexes to change the status quo within Japan itself. This might explain why there are no women involved in running sumo, or very few. Yet they are heavily invested as fans attending the sport. Well, it's clear that the discrimination and involvement doesn't seem to diminish the love of the sport by women. So as we know, the history of sumo has its roots deeply embedded in the Shinto religion and harvest rituals of over almost 1,500 years ago. One suggestion is that the matches were put on to entertain the goddesses of the harvest, and farmers believed that if women entered the ring, they would invoke the jealousy of the goddesses and ruin their harvest. There's also a suggestion that even women, though they were banned from attending in the 17th century, they may have been allowed to wrestle at various times during that history. It was called onazumu, and although it was sometimes associated with brothels and a spectacle to encourage viewers, it was repeatedly banned and reinstated, probably more as a titillation rather than a serious attempt at equality. But the history of women goes back further to the beginnings of sumo itself. In around 469 AD, Emperor Yuraku, he held a women's sumo match, if only to scare his master tradesman into making a mistake while carving. He was trying to distract him. Since the banning of women, there have been sporadic attempts to showcase women in sumo, including theatre tours and even bouts in the 50s, but unfortunately no footage exists of those bouts. Some earlier bouts existed in Okinawa in mixed-gender matches as a fertility rite, and a performance version of these still exists in summer festivals in Okinawa to these days. These matches always have the winner decided, in more of a performance than a fight these days. Women who are female Shinto priestesses always win as they represent the god Onari. And of course a god can't lose, and so the Onari god belief is that the sisters are always superior to the brothers, and therefore women are superior to men. Of course we know that. Anyway, Okinawa is very pretty and has pretty good beer, so if you ever have a chance, go to Okinawa. Great beaches, Orient beer is pretty damn good. Is it now just a habit that continues in the banning of women in sumo? Well, in 1990, the first female cabinet secretary was banned from giving a trophy, even at the Tokyo tournament, because she would have to enter the ring. And again in 2000, the Osaka governor, a woman, was similarly banned. She tried on multiple occasions to get this rule overturned, but she was always refused and eventually left politics and it became a non-issue. None of this stops the enthusiasm that women have for sumo, lining up for photos with Rashiki wrestlers. They seem to be fairly popular in Japan as a celebrity goes. So is there just a lack of cultural intent to change, or will it continue to incrementally change, albeit slower than Western society? Currently, women can compete in sumo in Japan, but that's only at amateur ranks and they're banned from entering the professional ranks whatsoever. This is pretty much one of the reasons why sumo will never be an Olympic sport. Women must be able to compete for the Olympic movement to admit a sport, and why we didn't see it at the Tokyo Olympics of recent times. There is hope. The Female Sumo Association in Japan organises the Wanpaku Sumo, or youth tournament for girls. One standout in 2019 was a wrestler named Nana. She was one of the strongest of her age group. She had quite a following at the time. She got interested when she was young and about 8, and her family was very supportive. Her coach recognised her ability. They even built her a ring at home for her to practice. So the world is changing. Women are becoming more involved in sumo around the world through various country sumo associations, including Australia and America. And as it becomes more popular sport in many countries, the International Sumo Association even has competitions as well. Hopefully that will push along and allow women to engage in the sport and maybe even eventually compete at a professional level. Keep a lookout in your country for the next tournament. Support the women who enjoy the challenge of the sport of sumo, and hopefully we'll see both genders there at some point in the future. Anyway, listeners, that's enough for this episode. I hope to see you next time while we wait for the September tournament. Hakkiyoi listeners, enjoy your sumo.